Oh, what is up, YouTube? Back with another video. We just wanted to, like we always do, we're here to talk again with this content thing going. And literally, distractions are everywhere in this world. Living, I'm at that point in my life, I'm really feeling like King Solomon. Everything is meaningless. Everything is meaningless. You know, the grind, everyday life of the 9 to 5, the looking, trying to be influential, trying to be big, famous YouTubers, TikTok trends. I'm at that point in my life that all this is just, it's meaningless, as I just said. Like King Solomon. If y'all know King Solomon, son of King David, his story in the Bible. God is good. He's at that point in his life when he had literally everything. I'm not at that point, but he had literally everything. He had the money, he had the influence, he was a king. He had like many multiple wives, and he realized that everything was just meaningless. Literally everything is just meaningless. Like the only thing that really was meaningful is just following God, and adhering to God's word and God's voice. And I'm really feel like I'm at that point in my life too. Like literally everything is meaningless. The constant trends, the lifestyle, society lifestyle. As I said, avoid the traps of the enemy, because that's literally how life goes. And King Solomon was in a point where he had literally everything, and he lost everything because he was, he had multiple wives and stuff, and at that point he lost everything because that's literally happened. He had most of the women that he was with, I believe he had like 5, 6, who knows, but he had a lot of wives. They were worshiping idols, and they didn't respect, or they didn't follow God, or people's heart processes are different. So it's very, it just shows a life lesson that we got to be careful who we want to hang around with, who we be intimate with, who we want to have a relationship with, because that all matters and affects our future. He literally lost everything because he was just, his desires weren't really truly aligned with what he should have really done with his life. He had it all, then he lost it all. So yeah, let's just go to show, how society really pushes all that agenda on us as well. As I always call the distractions. The distractions are everywhere. They want us to be caught up in trends. They want us to be caught up in the world. They want us to be caught up in those kind of situations where you have things and you lose it all. That's why they push out all this violence music. Who wants to be the artist? And they don't do anything the opposite. That's why I said distractions are everywhere. Everything's meaningless. And that's literally what society is pushing for, for us to, have to have it just to lose it. No one truly cares. And then that's the point, I'm even at this point in my life that the only thing I truly just, care about is just trying to find peace with myself, and and that's what I literally am doing. Truly being at peace with myself is recording this, talking about how these stories in the Bible relate today. And, history repeats itself. Life continues to go on. Spreading awareness so other people realize not to fall into the trap of the enemy. Outside is literally a whole trap set up. Everything designed for us to lay in that trap. As I was talking about the story, King Solomon, and how he was with, a lot of wives. And this story like 3,000 years ago. Basically how it plays out in today's time, and they pushing out the agendas of like OnlyFans. They want us to be in this, terrible state to, like I said, to condemn us. And all these stories is just like life lessons for us to learn from it and move forward. Being in like these streamer, YouTuber, and all these people that had the industry wants you to be. You want fame, you want influence, basically dangling the fruit. Like I said, the story of Adam and Eve and the fruit, the serpent. That's what they're doing to us. And people are eating the fruit, basically accepting the influence of fame, power, and all that. But they don't know is that you're just leading yourself into basically the same predicament as Adam and Eve, into damnation, to hurt yourself. So I spent most of my life just, understanding these stories and going through life and just avoided the traps. And he's like, oh no, if I do this, it's going to affect my future, how I truly want to live my life. But a lot of people are not really aware of, that's how you should be thinking. Yeah, this just goes to show you how society they plant traps right in front of us, hoping that we all just end up in a position to, to end up like King Solomon. But King Solomon made that conscious choice. But what I'm basically meaning, society don't really help us to really understand, it's a conscious choice on his side. If that's the case, we should do everything not to, end up like that, right? And, spread the awareness that, but look at America, literally. Come on, OnlyFans, we're all doing it. Like Gen Z, the kids of Gen Z, if they don't understand this concept right now, let's just say they're going to be a lot of more King Solomons to, when you have everything, you're going to lose everything. And you're basically just questioning yourself and, stuff like that. Man. And that's how it always is. It's set up in America, society. They're not going to tell you the game plan of how they're just using people and just, throwing them away when they're done using them. Thing is hush, hush. We're not going to tell anybody anything. Let's just, keep going on with the plan, the game plan. But if you, literally, read the word or just understand these concepts of how life goes, and, there's so many references for you to understand that a lot of people are just here to use you, throw you away. They offer you, the devil wants us to sell our souls. So he's having a lot of people do it. But a lot of people don't really truly understand is that once you do it, it's gone forever. And you're literally, far from God. Most likely forever. So life truly is about ignoring these distractions and, literally making the right choice for you to preserve yourself and take care of yourself. As I've said in previous videos, hopefully y'all check it out. But the distractions are everywhere. I'm just opening my phone, it's just more content. Like I said, as King Solomon said, everything is meaningless. I was literally the quote, if you really open the book of Ecclesiastes, love that book of wisdom. Everything is meaningless. I'm at that stage in my life where I'm saying everything is this truly meaningless as well. I never really was truly deep into the world, caught up like that. I always had moments like this, exactly how I am, to be I don't want to, partake as much as I should. But, it's just literally as you're a kid growing up, teenage years, and you're surrounded by everybody. That's saying you want to be in a whole solitude box all your life. By that point, I'm yes, I want to be in this solitude box all my life. The enemy's outside. The enemy's just society. Well, let's go with the Bible first. Commandments. Do not kill. Outside, they're killing. I'm oh, okay. Do not lie. Do not cheat. Do not steal. They're encouraging lying, cheating, and stealing. I'm if you do the exact opposite, take it, bad things will happen. Well, you know how the world is. It pushes out the agendas of peer pressure, and you're yo, you don't do it, you're not cool. And that's literally what sucks a lot of people in to end up doing it. Then they end up in a position where they're not, So all my life, I was running away from those kind of things. I'm not perfect, but I spent most of my time leaving those kinds of situations than, ending up with those people. If I had done those things and ended up with those people, I would not be where I am today. I wouldn't be where I am saying this right now, recording. I would have been gone, but that's exactly what the enemy wants. The enemy don't like people who, read the word or, understand these concepts, because just as simple as this, if we live our lives to do the wrong things, we're going to end up in wrong places. But we do things to, to keep our future safe, to, have dreams and, goals. Enemy don't like that. Let's look at another story in the Bible. Joseph had brothers and they threw him away into slavery. All because he had dreams and goals. He had a dream. If that's not crazy to know that you had family members who just didn't like you and they plotted to kill you because you had dreams of being somebody in the future, then I don't know what is. And that's the enemy was using the brothers to go against him, conflict, beef. Literally in today's time, which they encourage conflict. Same thing. I had people hate me for no reason and just not like me for no reason, which I don't really care. But that just goes to show. World, man. The distractions really just have us, do things that truly just don't make sense. The world just sells us a dream, which is a lie, and a lot of people are falling for the lie. God is king, Jesus is king. I'm out.